We're here to spark your growth, lift your spirit, and help you crush your potential.
Rise awakening, hear the call. Through the shining, we break the wall. Your nation, your voice, where dreams awaken. Blood, rise awakening, now is the dawn.
Rise awakening, let's rise together.
Cards laid bare, shadows collide. Hidden truths in the tide. A spark in the dark, it glows. Illuminate, illuminate. Through the fog, the stars awake. Illuminate, illuminate. The path you seek, the steps you take. Thunder rolls, whispers rise. The deck unfolds, no disguise. Light cracks the veil, it shows. What's unseen now inside? What's unseen now inside? What's unknown now ignite. Illuminate, illuminate. Through the fog, the stars awake. Illuminate, illuminate. The path you seek, the steps you take.
Good morning. Happy Friday to the 13th, everybody. I am so glad that you're here. Those of you in the chat, welcome. And those of you listening later, welcome as well. We're just glad you're here. I don't know. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm looking at the chat because I'm making sure. For some reason, yesterday I couldn't respond to the chat. Today I can, so that's a good thing. All right, so for those of you who have not been here before, what we do here on Illuminate is we're going to start off with a Celtic Cross reading. And yes, it's Friday the 13th. It's not a bad thing. 13 is a great number. My son was born on the 13th, so I love the 13th. Anyway, all right, so what we do is we do a full Celtic Cross reading, but we do kind of a deeper dive into both the upright meaning and the reverse meaning so that we get the shadow sides. And then we have one card that we go into in really big detail. That is our homework for the week. And at the end, we will pull forever whoever wants from the shadow work deck. And I will have a brief message meditation at the end. I loved this reading this morning, and I'm gonna be honest in saying that it's definitely for me, but it's not just for me. It is for a lot of people. But what I really like about this reading is that it has completely described my life over the past several months. And not only is it showing, however, the shadow side of the things that I was, it shows what it is becoming and why it is becoming. And I think that's so important for a lot of us to right now, to understand what it is that we are going through or that we have been going through, and then how we're working through it and where it's leading to. And I'm really, really excited about today. I have to say too that I woke up this morning, and Michael will understand my obsession with bluebirds. There was a time in my life when I was healing from a narcissistic abuse relationship, and during that time I was in bad shape. But I was living with my mom and dad at the time, and there was a bluebird that used to come sit on, like, there was a porch that was below me. I was upstairs, and there was a cover on the porch, and this bluebird would come sit in the corner. And I swear that every time I was in a bad mood, that bluebird would show up, and it would just make me smile. This morning I'm walking. I haven't seen a bluebird in a long time. I mean, they've been gone for the winter and stuff. Like, this morning I'm walking back from the bathhouse here, and a bluebird landed right in the middle of my path, and he just sat there and looked at me for a second, and I was like, okay, this is a good sign. This is going to be a good day. So anyway, enough with my birds and stuff. I have a weird thing about birds. Let's get into the reading for today. All right. We are starting off. Hold on. Michael needs to know. I need to understand why the universe is just super testing me today. I was watching a reading last night. Let me just briefly say this. The Mercury retrograde that we're going through. This man was talking about how he's been a tarot reader for 8 years, and he does, for a living. That's, what he does for a living is his tarot readings. He's been doing it for 8 years, and, understanding the retrogrades and stuff more. And he said this was the worst and the most intense Mercury retrograde he had ever experienced. That the emotions and the things that are happening right now are just strong. It's almost over. It ends the 21st. We're all better. So, all right, let us get started. All right, so we're starting off with our in our present situation with the star. The star is your core energy. This is healing, hope, and spiritual renewal. In most star cards, we see a woman kneeling between land and water. This symbolizes the balance between logic and emotion. She's pouring water onto the earth and into a pool, which is healing both the physical and the emotional worlds. We're going to start this English or hard stuff off early this morning. There are 8 stars overhead. These represent divine guidance and alignment with the cosmos. The star appears after the tower in the tarot journey. It represents the calm after chaos. Why is it here in this place? Well, you are in a deep healing cycle. Something that once shook your emotional world has cleared space for authentic healing and hope. You may be reconnecting to your intuition, rediscovering faith in love or life, and letting your true self emerge again. The star is gentle but powerful. It says your soul is remembering who it is. The shadow side of the star is over-idealizing someone, waiting for the universe instead of acting, and hoping someone will become the version of them that you see. You can starting to see how we're getting into what I've been through, but now we're going into we're in the healing of the upright. So the advice here is continue healing, but don't confuse potential with reality. Bubble kittens, I know this one is important for you too. You're going to like the reading today. All right. The star says, believe in the future, but keep your feet on the ground. All right. Crossing energy is the magician. The magician stands before a table containing cup, which symbolizes emotion, a sword, which symbolizes the mind, the pentacle that represents the material world, and the wand that represents spiritual action. Above his head is the infinity symbol, showing unlimited creative potential. Why is it crossing the star? because you are healing. In your healing is awakening your power to manifest and create. But the challenge is owning that power. You may be realizing you have far more influence over your life than you believed. The shadow side of this was manipulation by you or someone else. Someone charming but deceptive, using spiritual knowledge to control outcomes. Paired, okay, I'm going to say this. The devil is coming up in the spread, but it's important for me to mention it now, because when the two are paired, this could indicate someone in your life who is charismatic, but also has shadow motives. The magician tells you, be intentional with your energy, speak your desires clearly, and watch for illusion versus authentic creation. Power without clarity can become manipulative. All right. You'll notice that a lot of the cards that came up for today showed up yesterday at the core too. All right. The foundation, or your subconscious, is the Queen of Cups. The Queen of Cups sits by the ocean holding a sealed chalice, representing deep emotional wisdom that isn't easily shared. The watery image reflects intuition, psychic awareness, compassion, and empathy. Why is it here? Because deep inside you are extremely emotionally intuitive. You feel energy and people very strongly. You likely sense things about others before they even say them. This card also suggests that your past emotional experiences have shaped that empathy. The shadow side of the Queen of Cups is overgiving emotionally, absorbing other people's feelings. That is something I am still working on. And that is something I know that several of us are working on. It is really hard when you are like what I guess some people call a super empath or whatever, where we actually feel things that other people in the room feel. That's a hard thing to deal with, but we need to learn to let that go and not carry other people's pain around with us. It's not ours. We have to let them deal with it and let it go. All right. It's also loving people who are emotionally unavailable. Your empathy is a gift, but it requires boundaries. Feel everything, but don't carry everything. All right. Past influences. The Hermit. Good old Mr. Hermit. The Lantern representing inner wisdom. The Staff representing spiritual authority. He walks alone through darkness seeking his truth. Why is it appearing in the past? Because you've been through a period of withdrawal or introspection. You're possibly healing from a relationship, in a deep self-reflection, or pulling away from external noise. This period taught you self-reliance and inner truth. The shadow side, however, is emotional distance, isolation, and staying alone out of fear of disappointment. Your advice here: the Hermit phase gives you wisdom, but the journey now requires re-entering life with that wisdom. All right. Conscious go. I might want to do the right card. Is the Eight of Cups. This is a divine hand emerging from the clouds holding an overflowing chalice. Water pours from it into the pool below. It represents emotional renewal, love, spiritual awakening, and heart expansion. Why is it here in your conscious goal? Because your conscious desire is a fresh emotional beginning. This can represent new love, emotional healing, a deeper connection with someone that you already know, and reconnecting with your own joy. The shadow side is falling too quickly, emotional overwhelm, or mistaking intensity for love. Let your heart open, but allow love to grow slowly. Real love expands calmly, not chaotically. All right, in the near future, our good old friend, the Queen of Swords. Queen of Swords sits with a raised sword and an outstretched hand. She represents truth, clear thinking, and emotional intelligence combined with logic. Why is she here in this place? Because you will soon step into a phase where clarity becomes essential. You may speak your truth to someone, cut through the illusions, and set firm emotional boundaries. The Queen of Swords is compassionate, but does not tolerate dishonesty. The shadow side of her is emotional coldness, harsh judgments, and cutting people off too quickly. Use truth with compassion. Your wisdom should illuminate, not wound. All right. Your current energy. And this is where Mr. Devil comes in. This is you. The Devil card shows two figures chained to a dark figure, yet the chains are loose, meaning they could leave but believe that they cannot. The themes here are attachment, temptation, and unhealthy patterns and emotional dependency. Why does this represent you? It does not mean you are bad. It means you may be recognizing a pattern or attachment style that has had power over you. The examples are attractions to emotionally unavailable people, addiction to emotional dynamics, or feeling trapped in a situation. The shadow side is obsession, staying where you know you don't belong, or giving someone power over your happiness. The devil reminds you the chains are mental, emotional, or energetic, not permanent. Awareness is already breaking them. All right, into your external influences, we have Mr. Knight of Cups. The Knight of Cups is the romantic messenger. He carries a cup representing love, proposals, and emotional offers, but he is also known as the dreamer of the tarot. Why does it appear? Because someone around you is emotionally expressive, charming, romantic, or idealistic. However, this knight can sometimes be all poetry and promises and very little grounding. The shadow side, love bombing, fantasy without commitment, and emotional inconsistency. Your advice here, enjoy romance, but watch actions more than words. True knights show up consistently. I'm sorry if I'm calling you out again, Michael. All right. In our hopes and fears, my least favorite card in the deck, we all know what that is. However, this time she's in reverse. We have Eight of Swords reversed. So this is the only one that showed up reversed today. The upright card shows a blindfolded woman surrounded by swords. She's trapped by her own fear and her own mind. Reversed, however, it represents liberation from that mental prison. Why is it here? You hope to break free from old fears, stop overthinking, and trust yourself again. But you also may fear making the wrong choice. The shadow side of this can be lingering self-doubt, second-guessing your intuition, or fear of repeating past mistakes. Freedom requires trusting your inner voice again. You are far, far, far wiser than the past version of yourself. I saw the glee on your face. You need to hush. All right. The outcome today is Mr. Ace of Wands. A hand from the clouds presents a flaming wand. It represents passion, inspiration, and creative life force and new beginnings. Why is this the outcome? Because after all this healing and truth phase, something new and exciting is going to ignite in your life. It could be a new relationship, a creative project, your life direction, or a renewed passion for living. The Ace of Wands is life energy returning full force. The shadow side can be impulsiveness, acting before thinking, or burning bright but briefly. Follow the spark, but build it slowly into a fire that lasts. This reading tells a powerful soul evolution. The star says you are healing and rediscovering hope. The magician is your power to create your future. The power to create your future is awakening. The Queen of Cups says your emotional intuition is your foundation. The Hermit represents the past solitude that brought you your wisdom. Ace of Cups is your heart's desire, is that your heart desires a fresh new start in love. The Queen of Swords represents the truth and boundaries that arrive next. The Devil, you're confronting your old attachment styles. The Knight of Cups, a romantic influence appears. The Eight of Swords reverses you are breaking free from mental prisons. And the Ace of Wands says a passionate new beginning is going to ignite. This spread is about the healer reclaiming their power. You moved through Hermit, Star, Magician, which is the journey of someone who withdrew to heal, rediscovered hope, and reclaimed their ability to shape their reality. But the Devil appears to ask and remind you, will you choose freedom or familiar chains? The Ace of Wands says, if you choose that freedom, life will ignite again. The core message of this spread says your heart is healing. Your power is awakening and a new chapter is trying to begin. But it requires releasing old emotional attachments and trusting your own clarity. There are 4 major arcanas: Star, Magician, Hermit, and Devil, which equal destiny level lessons unfolding. The 2 queens represent emotional intelligence and discernment developing together. 2 aces represent emotional rebirth and passionate new beginnings. There are a lot of cups in this reading that represent love, healing, and emotional vulnerability that are central. The Devil and the Eight of Swords reversed, breaking out of old attachments or mental prisons. This entire spread screams you are being asked to reclaim your power while healing your heart. Bubble Kid says, good Lord, describe my life right now. Why don't you? LOL, minus the new love interest. Yeah, that is my life right now, too, minus the new love interest. But hey, there's always hope, right? What if I chose option C? Not making a choice is still a choice. You might still be healing. And that's where we can get into our homework. The homework card this week. We're going to do a deep dive into the moon. Mr. Unclarity. All right, so the moon, I'm not going to sit here and hold it the entire time, so I will just try to show you. The moon is the number 18 in the deck, in the tarot deck. 1 + 8 = 9. This is completion, karmic cycles, and emotional wisdom. Pisces is the astrological sign associated with this card, and the element is water. The planetary ruler, obviously, is the moon, but astrologically, it's tied to intuition, emotion, and memory. The key words here are illusion, intuition, psychic awareness, hidden truths, dreams, subconscious fears, and emotional tides. The moon is the tarot's dreamscape card. It represents the moment in a hero's journey where the path becomes foggy and you can't rely on logic anymore. You must rely on instinct. All right, most traditional moon cards contain several powerful symbols. The moon itself, often shown half illuminated and half shadowed, represents partial truth, things being revealed slowly, emotional reflection, and intuition over intellect. Unlike the sun's clarity, the moon offers reflected light. This means that what you're seeing may not be the full picture just yet. It also represents psychic downloads, dreams, and the unconscious mind surfacing. The wolf represents untamed instinct and primal emotion. It symbolizes intuition, survival instincts, and the wild part of the psyche. When the moon appears, something deep within is howling to be acknowledged. The dog represents the domesticated mind, the part of us that tries to stay rational and safe. Together, the dog and the wolf represent civilized mind versus instinct, conscious versus subconscious, and logic versus intuition. The moon invites a balance between the both. The crawfish emerging from the water is the most fascinating symbol. It represents something from the deep subconscious rising to the surface. This could be suppressed emotions, old traumas, hidden fears, psychic information, or truths that are finally emerging. Think of this as the psyche saying, we need to have a little chat about this now. The 2 towers represent a gateway between worlds. They symbolize the known and the unknown, the conscious and the subconscious, and reality versus illusion. Walking the path between the towers means navigating the uncertainty. The winding path disappears into the distance, meaning you don't have all the answers yet. You must trust the journey. I was thinking of the next word, which is clarity, comes later. This is the walk by faith, not by sight card. Yeah, more towers. The moon often appears when something is unclear and not everything has yet been revealed. You may feel confused, emotionally overwhelmed, or unsure of who or what to trust. But confusion is not always negative. Sometimes it means you're transitioning between realities. Intuition is heightened. The moon often appears when someone is having vivid dreams, experiencing synchronicities, picking up emotional energies, and sensing something beneath the surface. It's an extremely psychic card. Someone in your arena may be hiding something, avoiding truth, or not fully aware of their own emotion. Sometimes the moon reveals self-deception rather than outside deception, so look inwards. Every tarot card we know has a shadow aspect. The shadow can the moon shadow aspect. All right, I'm going to start that sentence over again. Here we go. The moon's shadow can manifest as anxiety and fear. The mind can create monsters when clarity is missing. You might experience overthinking, paranoia, emotional spirals, and catastrophic thinking. The brain tries to fill in missing information with fear. This is illusion. Things may appear one way but be something else. This can include misleading people, emotional manipulation, fantasy relationships, and projection. The moon warns about romanticizing reality. It also can be escapism because the moon rules dreams and emotion. The shadow can show up as avoidance, denial, substance escapism, and living in fantasy. The lessons become learning to face the emotional truth that lies beneath the fog. The moon represents the shadow walker. This archetype explores hidden fears, suppressed memories, emotional wounds, and unconscious patterns. Carl Jung would describe this as the process of shadow integration. When the moon appears, the psyche is saying, there are parts of yourself you haven't fully met yet. In relationship, the moon often connects with anxious attachments or disorganized attachments. In the anxious attachments, you can deal with fear of abandonment, emotional overinterpretation, and reading between lines that may not actually exist. Avoidant partners, the moon sometimes appears when someone withholds emotions, sends mixed signals, creates confusion in connection. This creates the classic push-pull dynamic. This card often appears when someone is trying to determine, is this intuitive knowing or emotional projection? The moon energy relationship can feel mystical, fated, intense, dreamlike, but intensity doesn't always equal health. In a trauma bond, it can represent emotional highs and lows, confusion about where you stand, craving validation, and feeling addicted to the connection. But in true soul connection, this shows deep intuitive knowing, emotional safety, gradual unfolding of truth, and growth through vulnerability. The moon asks you to separate intuition from emotional illusion. Spiritually, the moon represents initiation through the unknown. In many mystical traditions, seekers must pass through a period called the dark night of the soul. If you've ever been through the dark night of the soul, you'll know you've been through the dark night of the soul because it sucks. This stage involves questioning everything, emotional purging, and confronting your hidden fears. But this is not punishment. It might feel like it, but it is spiritual recalibration. The moon prepares you for the clarity that the sun that comes later in the journey. When the moon appears in a reading, the message is usually slow down and observe. Things are still unfolding. It advises you to trust intuition, avoid rushing decisions, gather more information, and pay attention to the dreams. Watch actions more than words. Yes, and it definitely feels like punishment, but it is not. All right, here's some advice. Sit with the uncertainty and know that not every question needs an immediate answer. Pay attention to your body. Your nervous system often senses truth before your mind does. Journal and track your dreams. Dreams can contain powerful insight when this card appears. Avoid assumptions. What feels true emotionally might not yet be the full picture. And let truth reveal itself naturally. The moon shows truth slowly. Forcing clarity rarely works. All right, in love, this can be emotional confusion, unclear intentions, strong intuition about a connection, and romantic fantasy versus reality. Observe their actions carefully. In career, this can be unclear workplace dynamics, hidden information, and needing to trust your creative intuition. Your advice for work: wait before making major decisions. On your spiritual path, this is awakening your psychic abilities, dream messages, and shadow work. Embrace your inner exploration. The ultimate lesson of the moon is this: your fear and your intuition come from the same deep ocean. Learning to tell the difference between the two is part of your spiritual maturity. The moon asks, can you walk forever even when the path is dim? Those who learn to navigate moon energy develop emotional intelligence, intuitive mastery, and deep psychological insight. The moon is not here to trick you. It is here to slow you down long enough to see that what your conscious mind normally avoids. Truth is emerging from the depths, but it comes in waves, reflections, and dreams rather than bright sunlight. And if you listen closely in the quiet, your intuition already knows the way. That was all of the reading and the homework. Let me look over what you guys had to say in chat, see if there's anything we need to address. All right, let's see. Okay, you guys are throwing spitballs at each other in the chat room. That's interesting. Ew, towers again. Yes, we know. Swatting my self-esteem later. Oh, not my house. No. Okay, we have a scammer here we need to get rid of. All right. My everything is disorganized, Bubble Kid says. Yeah. All right. Yeah. Regular Thursday. Yep, my schedule. But I need to know why and when. I know you need to know why and when. That is part of the process that I have just realized recently. Was that part of my confusion and part of my problem is patience. And until you learn that patience, the universe is going to keep slapping you with the weight game. Other than going through the dark night thing and stuff stabbing. Listen, here's the thing. Like I said, when I was reading, when I pulled the cards and was going through the reading and writing everything down and getting things together, I realized that most definitely it was my life over the past few months. The bads, along with the improvements and the growing. And I know that there's several of you in the room that are going through the same thing. We're all going through that process of eliminating what doesn't work and illuminating what does. It's not an easy journey when we're hurt. But I need for us to stop idealizing the past and start facing the realities. Know that this growth period that is kicking up your intuition and kicking you into this place of knowledge where you don't ignore red flags, where you do see things, is bringing you into a better place. I'm not saying that, okay, let's just say you meet somebody tomorrow or you get a job offer tomorrow or whatever that just appears perfect for you. Okay? And then something small happens and you go, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit. Red flag, red flag, red flag. Okay. Is it a red flag? You need to be able, this is where we need to be. We need to be at a place where we can look at each situation individually and remember, just because such and such happened and it triggers something in us from the past, we have to start remembering, one, we're not still in that place. We're not still in that horrible situation that we were in that caused the original pain. However, there are going to be situations that come up that will trigger your response, and when your brain is when your subconscious is triggered that way, your brain automatically feels the emotion that you felt in that situation at the time. But you're not in that situation anymore. And you have to take the time to stop and go, okay, I'm not here. I'm not there. I'm now here. Now, is this a repeat of the situation with someone new that I need to definitely listen to and look at and figure out where it is that what I need to do with this red flag, or is this just a trigger from the past? I recalled a situation this morning when I was thinking about all this where I'll just tell the story. I was going to say smells like, feels like, sounds like, looks like, as Micah would say. But I was going to bring up a situation where that something happened. I was with my most current ex at a family gathering, and my mother brought up a situation. She had asked a question. I'll just say what it is. There was somebody that I was in a band, or that I was working with their band, doing their social media and stuff, and he came to pick me up one day, on a motorcycle, and we went, back to his house to do some work. Well, my most, current ex drove a motorcycle or whatever, and my mom asks me at this gathering, is this the guy who came and picked you up on the motorcycle that one time that came to pick you up? And I immediately started panicking, because the narcissistic abuse situation from way back a couple of years ago, had she said something like that in front of him, I would have had hell to pay. On the way home, I would have heard all about it. I swear to you, every time we saw a guy on a motorcycle, it would have been, I bet you like that. It would have turned into a continuous situation that would have gone on forever, that I would have paid dearly for it. Even though he was just a friend, it wasn't a romantic situation, it was before we met, it wouldn't have mattered to him. It still would have caused an issue. So I immediately panicked, because I didn't know the man I was with at the time well enough to know whether or not that would cause the same type of reaction in him. And I immediately panicked. And I can see now the looks on my family's faces and on his face when I just was like, we need to go. I need to leave. We need to go. And everybody's looking at me like, what just happened? Because they didn't realize that I was triggered by that, because I knew if the past narcissist, it would have been a war. But in that current situation at that time, it wasn't. On the way home, he's like, why did you get so upset about that? It didn't bother me at all. And I was like, because it would have bothered somebody else, and that was an automatic trigger. And that's what I'm talking about, how triggers come up and things happen. They're going to happen. And if you've been through abusive relationships, if you've had a traumatic past, if you've had things that happen to you, you cannot stop your subconscious from having these realizations or these memories. They're going to come up. It's how you respond to them. I didn't respond well to that. I'm not going to beat myself up about it. I know why I responded that way, and I explained myself. I just like last week explained to my mother why it was that I got so upset in that situation. And she understood it perfectly then, because my father's the same way as the narcissistic person would have been. He would have had a fit over something like that. And she's like, I didn't even think about that. But that brings me to a point, and that's our own awareness. And being aware that just because looks like, sounds like, smells like, feels like, doesn't necessarily mean that it is. We have to learn to embrace those feelings and learn how to deal with them, so that we don't overreact in a situation where it's really not necessary. And our own awareness of who we are, what we've been through, what triggers us, and what comes up has got to be something that we learn to get a handle on, so that we don't always fall into that Oh my God, that panic attack. Because I literally did have a panic attack. I mean, there was another situation with this same most recent ex where something came up and he had put some stuff away in this. We were going boating and he put this stuff in the storage thing in the boat, and then he'd laid some stuff over the top of it and everything. And I realized when after he finished putting everything away, that my keys to my car were in my purse, which were in that storage container, and I wanted something from my car. And he noticed the look on my face, like, what is something, what's wrong? Is there something? And I'm like, no, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. It's okay. I can do without, whatever. I was so willing to just let it go, even though I really wanted what was in the car. I was so afraid to tell him the truth because of the other one would have reacted. The narcissist would have reacted. I would have been an idiot. I would have been in trouble. I would have been, I asked you if you need, now I got to take all this shit out again. And it would have been a big, huge deal. But with this person, it was not a big deal. He's like, Carrie, it's okay. It's not a big deal. I can get it out. It'll take me 5 minutes. Well, get it out and get your stuff and, it's okay. And okay, so yeah, this past relationship didn't end that great. And it was another situation where I had a lot of lessons to learn. And those things that triggered me helped me remember, okay, certain things. But they also brought up this. And this is the awareness and this is the intuition and things that I'm talking about. Each relationship that we've been in that has ended for whatever reason taught us lessons. And what happened for me and a lot of people in this past situation was, okay, that kindness, say that kindness right there when he did not have a fit over me needing something, made me think, oh, he's so wonderful, he's so perfect, this is so great, he's not acting like the other person. This must be it, this must be the one, this must be the end all, because no one has ever noticed that before, no one has ever done this for me, no one would, like it was some kind of big huge thing or whatever. I remember one time when I had to go to work and we had been on the boat, so he dropped me off at the dock so I could walk to my car, and I'm walking, and as I'm driving off, it was a long walk up this hill and everything. As finally get to my car, I'm driving off, I realized he was still there and waved. He had watched me walk all the way up that hill and everything and get to my car and made sure I got there safe, and then when I left, he waved goodbye. And I'd never had anyone do that for me before. Never had anyone care enough about whether or not I made it back to the car safely or whatever, but they would sit around and wait. They would have just been like, all right, she's gone, I'm back out fishing, done with this. But he sat there and he waited. And I thought, this is the kindest man in the world. He actually gives a shit. The problem then became that there were other things that were not aligned, that were not kind, that were hurtful, that did leave me in places where I was going in the other room to cry because he had said or done something that hurt me. But I continued to hang on because I was clinging to those few things that I mentioned, and other ones. But I was clinging to those things thinking, I can't let go now because I've never had somebody who was this kind to me. And if I let go and lose that, I'll never find that kindness again. But the thing is that there were other things that weren't so kind. It takes all of our relationships that we've been through and looking back at the things that did not go well, the things that caused the end, the things that caused the breakup, the things that were unhappy and unsettling and were not aligned with us. It takes all of them together to put together that whole. Because certain things that he said or did that hurt me, the other one didn't. Or certain things that that one said or did that hurt me, the one before didn't. Or all, it takes the culmination of all of them put together and our dark night of the soul and our going through the moon phase and our awareness of what works for us and what doesn't, to finally get to this point where we know that in the future, when someone does step in, we know what it is that we want and don't want. And we also need to have that awareness that just because this person does not have all of what you are looking for does not mean that that person that is right for you is not out there. It does not mean that you should tolerate going and hiding in the bathroom to cry when you've been hurt just because they didn't hurt you as badly or deeply as the other person did. It all has to work together. And we've got to find our awareness within ourselves to get to that point to where we know what's aligned with us. And the only way we're ever, and I'm going to read what Michael just said. What I did with my dad for years. Hold on to the small things to make excuses for him when he did the bad shit. Exactly. And that's what I did in this past relationship. I held on to those good things so tightly and still yet going on at this point. I held on to them so tightly that I let the things that hurt me slide. And I didn't confront them at the time. We have to find our voice. We have to speak up for ourselves. We have to acknowledge our truth. And we have to let people know. They don't know unless we tell them. And yes, Michael, we find them within ourselves. And that is our awareness. And when we find it within ourselves, then we can also find it in someone else. All right, I've done enough speaking for today. I want to know who would like some shadow work for today. We know Micah's going to get one, whether he's still in the shower or not. Bubble Kit. I know there's several people watching. I don't know where they're watching from. If you're on Facebook and you would like me to pull a card for you, let me know. You can go ahead and comment and I can answer from here. And what you mean? You're getting one regardless. That's what I mean. All right. So just let me know in the comment or in the chat. Bubble Kitten says, why not? Mike is getting one anyway. Michael, let me know if you want one. I think, who else? Cash, let me know if you want one. All right, so we're going to start with Bubble Kittens because she said why not first. All right. Bubble Kittens. Deep, intimate connections are spaces ripe with potential for shadow work discoveries. Whoa. The shadow often manifests as feeling triggered. God dang, this is another show. If you can't make this shit up. Strong emotional reactions can provide great insight into deep-seated fears in relationships. Which behaviors from a past partner or potential partner are triggering for you? And what fears do these triggers point to? Whoa, that was weird. All right. Micah. The role you embody in conflict often points to unconscious shadow material. With examination, you gain access to hidden wounds or patterns that need resolution. In navigating conflict, what role do you take on most often? Avoider, critic, mediator, or something else? How might this role be informed by early life experiences. Michael, and Cash, I did not see whether or not you wanted one or not. We have a few second delay, so let me know while I pull one to yell at myself. All right. In dream work, being naked in front of others often symbolizes a fear of vulnerability. In a dream, your hidden fear becomes a visual embodied terror. I have not had this dream in ages. I remember having it in high school a lot. Terrified, waking up. I walked into school naked. All right. When were you last truly honest and vulnerable? How did you respond after that? And did you remain naked or immediately cover up and retreat? I probably covered up and retreated. Okay, I did not hear anything from Michael or Cash, so I will pull out the meditation for the day. Guess what it happens to be? Seems to me you like to do it. So yeah, you can give me one. Thank you. Oh, this isn't for me. Cash. No one likes to think of themselves as an envious or jealous person, but these feelings exist in the shadow of every person. When was the last time you felt jealous or envious of someone's success or life position? What can you learn about yourself in acknowledging the meaning behind your feelings? Jealousy. I hate jealousy. Yes, we all feel it, but it's so unproductive. All right, so guess what the card was for today? May you know awareness. May you know awareness. May you know your body, your mind, and your heart intricately. May you know what makes you joyful and what causes you pain and suffering. Be aware of all these powerful signals and find every opportunity to move towards joy. Awareness will empower you to assess the situation with clarity and make wise decisions towards the greater good. You're a Scorpio. It's on point. I get it. All right, guys. I hope that you got something out of today's message. I know I did. I most certainly did. And I know that we are all learning. And that's the important part. We have to remember that it just doesn't have to be a healing process. There's no time frame. And everybody's different. Everybody responds differently. Everybody reacts differently. And everybody has a different grieving process. So it takes time. And if you're not ready yet, you're not ready yet. You'll know when you are. When you're able to meet somebody and feel confident and strong and beautiful and smart and all those things that you truly are. Keep reminding yourself that you have everything. You have the magician spirit. You have everything you need right in front of you. Use it to your own good. Give your love and love yourselves. I love you. And I hope that you have an amazing, amazing week. A fantastic weekend. I cannot once again tell you who's on Voices on the Rise tonight, even though I did know the answer to this. I'll probably wait for Micah to respond in the chat while I go through the rest of the shows. Monday, be here at 11 a.m. on Rise Awakenings for the Bloom with Rev D. Monday night, Micah and I will be back for the messengers. The weekly message is up on podcast. I had some trouble for a while because of internet issues, but it did get posted yesterday. Tuesday, Micah's back with Brindle's Vision at noon. He and Rev D are back Wednesday at PT for PT. Phoenix Talks. I always call it PT so much I forgot the actual words. Thursday on Awakenings, the core will be back. And then Friday, I will be back here for some more homework. And tonight on Voices on the Rise is Cheeks and Sujit. That will be phenomenal. Those two together are amazing. Their music is so incredible. So tune in at 6 p.m. with Hathry for Voices on the Rise tonight on Rise Awakenings, Rise Radio. You will love it. It will be a great time, I promise you. All right. Love you guys again. See you next week. Have a fantastic weekend. I love y'all. Y'all are the best. See you soon. Now let me get out of here. If I can. I always get stuck here.
What's unseen now inside? What's unknown now ignite? Illuminate, illuminate through the fog, the stars away. Illuminate, illuminate the path you seek, the steps you take.
Hey, this is Brindle Wolf.
And I'm Lunaria.
You're listening to Rise Awakenings, part of the Rise Radio Network where advice meets action.
We're here to spark your growth, lift your spirit, and help you crush your potential.
Rise awakening, hear the call. Through the shining, we break the wall. Your nation, your voice, where dreams awaken in time. Rise awakening, now is the time.
Rise Awakenings. Let's rise together.